Morant with a running start. Elevate! Oh, it dunks! Oh, my goodness!
Tie game in overtime. Gasol will turn his heat. It's gone! Memphis on top. 7-10 remaining. Conley now with three. Count it! A 15-point lead for Memphis. And Blake Griffin gets into it on the floor with Randolph. Hard to tell if there are any punches being thrown under there, but Griffin took exception.
Adams going long. Morant! He hit it! Jamorant! Insanity!
You gotta be kidding me.
Welcome to Grits and Grinds, a Memphis Grizzlies podcast. My name is Keith Parish. The Grizzlies started their post-All-Star break schedule with a crushing defeat at the Philadelphia 76ers, a game that the Grizzlies led for the majority of it. They got up by 17 points in the first half. They were up by 11 with 6 minutes to go after a very nice strip of Joel Embiid by Xavier Tillman led to a fast break dunk from David Roddy. The Grizzlies looked like they were heading towards a huge road victory. But alas, down the stretch, James Harden, Joel Embiid, Tobias Harris make big plays, and the Grizzlies, on their end of it, do not come up with the big plays, and the 76ers rally, beat the Grizzlies 110 to 105. Jamorant went scoreless in the fourth quarter. He finished 3 for 16 from the field, one of the worst shooting performances in Jamorant's career. Statistically, of all games he's attempted at least 15 field goal attempts, it is the worst field goal percentage he's ever posted in a game. This comes on the heels of his 8 for 26 performance in the final game before the All-Star break. Now, Jamorant in his last 2 games has the second worst stretch in Grizzlies franchise history for a player who attempted at least 40 field goal attempts, which is a lot, admittedly. That's a ton of field goal attempts for any 2 games. But Marc Gasol was 10 for 40 in back-to-back games back in 2016. Jamorant right now, 11 for 42 in his last 2 games. I was hosting a watch party in Nashville, and everything was going so well. I mean, you got off to a great first quarter. Desmond Bane has the second highest scoring quarter of his career with 19 first quarter points. The Grizzlies get out to a fast start. They lead. Again, they led the entire game, basically. I believe they were down 7-6, and then they led until Tobias Harris's 3 in the final minute. So much of this, unfortunately, was a familiar story, a familiar refrain for how the Grizzlies are losing basketball games. This is their 8th straight loss on the road. They let a lead slip away again. This is a team that won its first 31 games this season when it had a double-digit lead. Now it's blown, I believe, 5 second half double-digit leads in the past month or so. The Grizzlies' half-court offense completely stalls out. The Grizzlies' fourth quarter offense completely stalls out. You may remember the Grizzlies have the worst offensive rating in the fourth quarter in the entire NBA. We try to excuse some of that with, hey, there's some blowouts. We don't always play our guys. Well, guess what? Lots of teams have blowouts. Lots of other good teams have blowouts. The Grizzlies have the worst offensive rating among all teams. The Grizzlies have the 3rd worst net rating in fourth quarters. The only teams with worse fourth quarter net ratings are the Rockets and Spurs. Those teams are horrible. In the fourth quarter of this one, the Grizzlies were outscored 35-24. They pieced together 3 great quarters of defense. They held Joel Embiid in check. You had a lot of good moments from Xavier Tillman, Jaren Jackson Jr., of course, blocking Joel Embiid's dunk again. He has several now career blocks on Joel Embiid that are very spectacular. David Roddy, Dylan Brooks each had turns trying to hold Joel Embiid in check and did a fine job. Joel Embiid missed I believe 12 of his first 13 field goal attempts, but he kept coming. He kept blocking shots. He kept getting rebounds. And then down the stretch, you saw a team that had two superstars playing at superstar level. The Grizzlies, we wish, had two superstars, but Jamorant was struggling, obviously. And Jaren Jackson Jr. and Desmond Bane couldn't match forces in that fourth quarter. It looked like clearly the Sixers had the two best players on the court. That is not what we hoped for this Grizzlies season. But looking at the Grizzlies' struggles in the half court, which we know is something we've highlighted, we keep talking about it. And you notice it in fourth quarters of games, specifically in fourth quarters of games against good teams. The game slows down. You stop getting transition opportunities. Can you score when it matters? This is why most people, myself included, have docked the Grizzlies from considering them one of the main contenders in the NBA. They're a tier below because of their inability to perform in the half court. The Grizzlies were outscored 24-8 in the final 6 minutes of the game. The Grizzlies made 3 out of 14 field goal attempts in the final 6 minutes of the game. They also went 2 for 4 from the foul line. All of those were Xavier Tillman. I mean, Xavier Tillman played well. He did what he can do. He provided some of the only buckets in the fourth quarter for the Grizzlies. He split his free throws. The Sixers made 3-pointers. The Grizzlies in this game, not just in the final moments, the Grizzlies only made 2 3-pointers in the final 3 quarters. Desmond Bane made 4 3-pointers in the first quarter. The team made 5 in the first quarter. They went 2 for 21 in quarters 2 through 4. The Grizzlies had their third worst shooting performance of the season overall, with 39% from the field, 21% from 3. But it was all going to be okay, it felt like, because the defense was good enough and they were performing just well enough offensively until you got to the bog down in the final 6 minutes. And now, if you look at the Grizzlies' season-long stats in these clutch situations, it is a bleak story. Things have not worked out in the clutch for the Grizzlies this year. Now, some of this, I think, is they haven't had that much clutch experience. They do, in fact, have a lot of blowouts, and they do have a lot of games that aren't close at the end. When they lose, sometimes they lose big, and when they win big frequently. The Grizzlies have played the fewest clutch minutes in the NBA. They've played 73 total minutes. This is using the NBA's definition of clutch minutes, which is the score within 5 in the final 5 minutes. Spread out over 25 games, they've played 73 clutch minutes. So it is truthfully hard to take much from these stats because 73 minutes is not very much. You can say the Grizzlies have the 5th worst defensive rating in the clutch, which is true, but also 73 minutes isn't that much. But there are some stats that I think definitely match the eye test that really highlight how bad it's been for the Grizzlies this year in close games. If you narrow the clutch definition to just the final 3 minutes of games with the score within 3. Final 3 minutes, score within 3. Again, the Grizzlies are tied now for the fewest of these minutes. But in these minutes, the Grizzlies have the 2nd worst offensive rating and the 4th worst defensive rating. That's a bad pairing, which makes a net rating for an abysmal -30 when the game is within 3 points and it's in the final 3 minutes. Because there's so few minutes, net rating is probably misleading. It's probably best expressed in actual points. They've been outscored by 19 total points in these 34 clutch minutes. But the truly awful numbers, those are not the awful numbers. Those are just regular numbers. The truly awful numbers. This season, when the score is within 3 points in the final 3 minutes, the Grizzlies' field goal percentage as a team is 29.9%. It's worst in the NBA. I recognize that without having Steven Adams, we're feeling a little bit down. Losing a straight on the road will make you feel kind of not great. But also, these clutch stats making me feel not great. They further demonstrate, I think, the difficulties the Grizzlies can face this postseason. If you look at overall team records for the games that meet my specific clutch definitions, the score within 3, final 3 minutes, The Bucks are 13-4 in these games. The Bucks are awesome. They're a title contender. The Nuggets are 17-6 in these such games. The Nuggets are the best team in the West, a title contender. The Nets, who were elite, are 16-7 in these games. The 76ers also 16-7. The 76ers are good. The Celtics are 13-7 in these games. Guess what? Those are the best teams in the NBA. Not counting the Nets, I guess, no longer one of the best teams in the NBA since they got rid of Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. Now you look where the Grizzlies are. In all games where the score is within 3, anytime in the final 3 minutes, the Grizzlies are 7-10. That's a worse winning percentage in these games than the Hornets and the Magic and the Pacers and the Rockets. The only teams with the worst winning percentage for games that are within 3 points in the final 3 minutes are the Raptors, the Pistons, the Thunder, and the Spurs. Again, it's only 34 minutes, spread out over 17 games. But the Grizzlies are shooting 29.9% from the field. They're 2 for 19 overall on three-pointers. I mean, we saw it in this game. Some of it was bad luck. Jamorant had a layup that looked like it was going to go in. It also looked like he got undercut a little bit on this layup. The last 2-minute report doesn't come out for several hours. It'll be out later this afternoon. I do feel like there might be several missed calls that harmed the Grizzlies. But the Grizzlies still had their chances. They missed their shots. They got beat to loose balls. The Tobias Harris 3 that gave him the go-ahead point for the Sixers came on a second chance opportunity. Joel Embiid chased out a rebound out to half court. Why aren't we beating him to that basketball? On the next possession, when the Grizzlies missed a shot, Ja Morant had a tough floater, one of his 5 misses in the fourth quarter. James Harden beat the Grizzlies to the ball. James Harden got on the ground first to win the loose ball, threw it ahead to Joel Embiid to put the Sixers up by 3. But the clutch time problems continue for the Grizzlies. The fourth quarter offense continues for the Grizzlies. And if you want to look at the specific culprits for the season-long clutch time struggles for the Grizzlies, it is not a pretty picture. Here are some individual stats for the Grizzlies this season in the final 3 minutes of games if the score is within 3. Ja Morant in these situations this year is 6 for 28 from the field. That's 21%. He's missed all 5 of his three-point attempts. Guess what? Desmond Bane, 3 for 15 in these situations. 20% from the field. Has missed all 7 of his three-pointers. 2 of them were in this game where the Grizzlies had a chance to tie it. I mean, I guess we can talk about the final possession right now, or the final possession when the Grizzlies were down 3. They ran a great play. They got Bane a really, really good look from 3. He missed it. He unfortunately missed all of his threes after the first quarter. But Bane misses the first 3. Then he gets a rebound, gets a second look at it, and misses it horribly. Looks like it was going to bank in. Then the Grizzlies get that rebound. Jaren Jackson Jr. panics. Seems like he panicked. I know lots of Jaren Jackson Jr.'s three-point attempts looked rushed. Well, it seemed like he didn't understand the game situation, the clock situation. There was still a lot of time left. He fired up pretty wildly with 13 seconds left, and there's your ball game. But you got 2 good looks from Desmond Bane. He got a lot of good looks in this game that he missed. Part of the Grizzlies going 2 for 21 from the three-point line in the second, third, and fourth quarters, that includes Bane missing a lot of actually wide open threes. Jaren Jackson Jr. had some great looks. Jaren Jackson Jr.'s only made three-pointer was a bizarre leaning banked-in three-pointer at the end of the first half, which stopped a Sixers run and put the Grizzlies up 12. But Bane has missed all 7 of his three-pointers in these super clutch situations this year. So here's the huge stat. I mean, I'm going to repeat it. I'm going to combine the numbers. This season, if the score is within 3 in the final 3 minutes of the game, Ja Morant and Desmond Bane are 9 for 43 on field goal attempts. And they've missed all 12 of their three-pointers. Jaren Jackson Jr. is 3 for 8 from the field in these situations. He's missed both of his three-pointers. So Ja Morant, Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr., 0 for 14 from 3 in these super clutch situations. No one else on the team, by the way, has more than 5 field goal attempts if the score is within 3 in the final 3 minutes of games this year. Dylan, he's 2 for 5. He made one of the 2 made three-pointers for the team. Tyus Jones has the other made three-pointer for the team. So clutch situations remain a problem. Half-court offense remains a problem. 3-point shooting remains a problem. It's hard to win when you only make 7 3-pointers. The glass half full, if you want to do that, is despite jamorant going 3 for 16 from the field, despite the team only making 7 3-pointers, despite only making 39% of your field goal attempts, the Grizzlies were ahead. They were up by 4 in the final 2 minutes. I'm a little tired of trying to console myself with that. We know the Grizzlies they're a top 10 team in the NBA. This is why they're not a bad team, but it's what's, I think, holding the Grizzlies back from being an elite team. These struggles that we know. Also, the things we were looking forward to for the final 25 games. I podcasted with Chris Harrington on his Daily Memphian podcast on Thursday. By the way, the video for that podcast is up on my YouTube channel, the Grits and Grinds YouTube channel. So if you want to watch that video, you can do that exclusively on the Grits and Grinds YouTube channel. But we talked about things we want to see in the final 25 games. And one of the things we want to see is we want to see Dylan Brooks into slump. Did Dylan Brooks into slump? Nope. 3 for 9 from the field. He made a couple of good shots, but he missed a ton, just like he does. We want to see Tyus Jones get going again. Nope. Tyus Jones did not get going again. We wanted to see a little random thing. We wanted to see Santialdama play some 3. Nope, that didn't happen either. So Tyus Jones scored 2 points. The bench, once again, doesn't get a double-digit score from any of the guards or wings. Although Conchar got close. Conchar with a huge game. 9 points. That's almost as shocking as P.J. Tucker scoring 6 points for the Sixers. Conchar very, very active in the second quarter. I mean, Conchar had a good game. But the bench gives you 1 out of 6 3-pointers. Roddy made the only one. I mean, Roddy, again, really strong game. Commendable game from David Roddy. Using his physicality, some very good defense, got out in transition, got a couple dunks. Great game from Roddy, filling in while Zaire stays with the hustle. Jake LaRavia stays with the hustle. Luke Kennard, if you didn't know, was out for this game with a non-COVID illness. I wanted to see more of these good specific lineups. Notably, I wanted to see my favorite 5 guys play together, and guess what they did? They started the game with jamorant, Desmond Bane, Dylan Brooks, Brandon Clark, and Jaren Jackson Jr., and then in like a cruel joke, they only played the first 3 minutes. Brandon Clark got in some foul trouble, and despite starting my favorite 5-man lineup, they didn't play it after the first 3 minutes of the game. I think they thought Xavier Tillman is a better option on Embiid, which is probably true. Tillman had a good game. Played 32 minutes off the bench, 12 rebounds, 8 points. Got 2 assists, 2 steals. But it wasn't good enough for the Grizzlies, who fell short once again and now find themselves down 6 games to the Nuggets in the standings. In the race for the 1 seed. They are 6 games behind the Nuggets, and honestly, we need to start keeping our eye on holding on to the 2 seed. The Grizzlies are only 2 games clear of the Kings, 3.5 games up on the Clippers. The Grizzlies play the Nuggets on Saturday night. Very big game, of course. If you want to take a positive outlook for this game, the Grizzlies are 8-0 on Friday and Saturday home games. They have one of the best home records in the NBA. They're 24-5 at home. Unfortunately, they're 11-18 on the road now after dropping this one, and of course, their last 8 road games. It's disappointing, obviously, when you let a lead slip away. It's disappointing when you're playing a team ahead of you in the overall NBA standings and you lead for the whole game and you let it slip away. It's disappointing when, maybe your 2 best players in Ja and Jaren only make 8 of 32 field goal attempts combined. Although that Jaren was great. I mean, Jaren had 18 points, 9 rebounds, 4 block shots. Yes, he missed some shots. It's going to happen. Desmond scored 25. 25 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists for Bane. You'd think it'd be enough. But unfortunately, once you know that he had 19 in the first quarter, it's a little bit less exciting. But anyways, we'll keep our heads up. It's a tough place to win. The Sixers are very, very good. And I think the continual way that it's highlighted for the Grizzlies that these are our shortcomings, it seems like that's useful. Like, the players have to know that we have to do whatever we can do to be better at half-court offense. We have to find a way to perform better. It's not good enough. We can't rely on athleticism. We can't rely on our defense. They only picked up 5 steals in this game. And the defense is good. But if you're not generating those turnovers, it's going to be tough if you're not making your threes. If you're not performing in the half court. Maybe there's nothing the team can do. I don't know. It's not like, at this point, it's not like an aberration when the team has a bad three-point shooting night. It's a feature. Unfortunately, it's a feature. A good thing for this game is the Grizzlies actually got to the foul line a lot and made their free throws. Yes, Xavier Tillman with some rough misses at the final couple minutes, but the Grizzlies got to the foul line, generally made their free throws. I guess one thing that is notable that I guess we should talk about or acknowledge is jamorant was kind of weird on the final possession. After jamorant inbounds the ball, he just stands still for like 15 seconds. Like literally motionless. It seems like he would try to reposition for a 3, be light on his feet, like you can see Tyus Jones and Dylan Brooks doing, like moving around, ready to, be prepared to shoot if the ball comes to them, crash the glass, go in and get an offensive rebound and try to keep the possession alive. I know that's not his normal task. Normally guards are in charge of getting back and making sure you don't have a run out, but, down 3, final possession, that's the time to go get the ball. So a little bit of weird stuff from Ja. I don't think there's anything wrong with Ja. I assume he's going to have a huge game. He's going to have a huge game coming up. His 20-point streak, consecutive games scoring 20 points, he had that snapped. Only scored 15. His streak of 9 straight, where he had at least 20 points, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists, obviously snapped. Only had 15 points, 3 rebounds, and 5 assists. That's a horrible game from jamorant. So the Grizzlies will rebound, and they better. The schedule, as you know, over the next 10 or so is very, very tough before lightening up a little bit. Nuggets on Saturday. Next Tuesday, national TV game against the Lakers. They got to play the Mavericks a couple times coming up. You have the Warriors games not too far away. So it's a bit of a gauntlet right now. There's no reinforcements coming. I guess technically Steven Adams is expected back hopefully within a week now. We're basically ending the 3 to 5 week time frame they gave us, and reporting is hopefully a week from now, Steven Adams will be back. Steven Adams isn't going to fix everything, but absolutely his return will be a boost for the Grizzlies. And of course, we can stop being so weirded out by the Grizzlies, and their refusal to play the Ja, Dylan, Dez, Brandon, and Jaren minutes. Anyways, thanks you guys for listening to these episodes. Thanks to everybody who came out to the watch party in Nashville. If you don't mind, do me a favor, write me a 5-star review on whatever podcast app you're listening to this on. Also, subscribe to that YouTube channel, the Grits and Grinds YouTube channel. Anyways, hope you have a great weekend. I will talk to you soon. Go Grizz.